Hi, I'm Ruthana Foulkes and I'm a director at TU-Automotive, and we're here today at Insurance Telematics Europe. And with me I've got Yon Copitch, who is the Managing Director of Traffilog UK. So welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So would you like to just give us an overview really of Traffilog, the history and what it is that you guys actually provide to the market?
Traffilog is quite easy to explain. We're a global telematics provider, which means that traditionally we've had black boxes that we install in vehicles. We gather information from those vehicles and analyse that data and produce it to end customers that benefit from that data.
Okay, fantastic. So what are the kind of updates that we're kind of hearing? So this is what your background is, but where are you kind of focused going forward?
We currently have two main areas that we deal with. First of all, you've got the business-to-business arena. Traditionally, business-to-business have had a telematics device which has been more for location-based type solutions. So where's the vehicle, what's it doing? And recently, over the last sort of 12 months, the industry's moved a lot more to the analytical side of that data.
Okay.
So how are our drivers driving? It's obviously become very, very important.
Yeah.
What can we do to improve our drivers' driving standards? And more than anything else is, how do we bring the drivers on board?
Okay.
Okay, so it's very easy for us to produce data and say that somebody's not doing something or is high risk or something like that. But the actual question is, what can we do to bring the driver on board and make sure that they change the profile of the way that they're driving?
Okay.
And I think that's where most of our efforts have gone in the last 12 months.
So, I mean, the standard thought processes with that on the commercial side especially is that the driver has to be on board because it's part and parcel of their employment contracts to a certain degree. I mean, but is it more of an attitude of responsiveness, or is there you know ways in which the driver can say, no, I'm not having that?
Well, I think that's a very good question. I mean, it's all part of bringing the driver on board. Traditionally, everybody's looked at sort of telematics as being the big brother that looks over the driver and tells the driver when he's doing something wrong or he's not being okay.
Yeah.
Whereas what we're trying to introduce at the moment and you know having amazing results from is actually bringing the driver into the process so that the driver himself wants to improve.
Okay.
Remember, we come from the base sort of starting point that we say a driver doesn't get up in the morning and say, I want to drive badly.
No.
Okay, it's normally either bad habits or things that they don't know that they're doing wrong, or things that the employer has introduced into the working environment that creates that bad driving.
Interesting.
Okay, so we start from the most basic things. If we can put a little display in the vehicle for the driver to actually show the driver live whilst he's driving, when he's driving safely and efficiently, then psychologically we're already bringing him into the process.
Okay.
And psychologically then, if we put scoring behind it and give him regular monthly reports and things like that with tips as to how to improve his driving, then without doing very much, we're already bringing them into the process and getting the results that we're looking for.
Right, okay, I see. So, I mean, have you done much on the personal line side of things as well, or have you stayed just on the commercial line?
Well, recently we've just launched in the UK and Europe our, if you want, sort of consumer insurance solutions, which we have been running overseas in sort of Mexico, Russia, Israel over the last 12 months and had great success over there. The big difference is that, first of all, it's a lot wider audience and we need to be able to automate everything. So it starts from the most sort of basic starting point of, do you want to send an installer to every vehicle to install?
Right.
Or do you want to have something that you can just put in the post and every day people can just stick it in the vehicle and it works? So we've come out with a new product called Be On Track, which is a self-installed device that can be purchased in the shop, can be sent out in the post. Together with that device, there's then a very nice smartphone application which goes from explaining how to install it and checking that they've installed it correctly and that the information on the vehicle's correct, all the way through to showing them how to improve their driving and interacting with them. And then eventually to all sorts of value-added services that they can then utilise in the future.
So is that device, is that an OBD2 dongle, and then it's...
I think that, first of all, there's this sort of terminology of OBD2 type device.
Right.
Which is slightly confusing because, yes, the device uses an OBD port in the vehicle,
Okay.
but with inside a OBD port, there's lots of different protocols that run inside a vehicle.
Of course.
So, yes, we plug into the OBD port, but we're actually utilising various protocols within inside the vehicle to gather as much information as possible.
Okay.
One of the big advantages that gives us is all of the diagnostic side.
Okay.
So we're not just looking at accelerating, braking, cornering, we're actually looking first of all at driver skills.
Okay.
So are they riding the clutch, are they riding the brake? Every time they start at traffic lights, are they putting their foot 100% on the accelerator?
Okay.
So what we call driver skills. And then moving on to looking at things like, are they going from the accelerator to the brake and then straight away back to the accelerator, which means they're too close to the vehicle in front and not looking at the whole picture of what's happening whilst they're driving. And then if we add on to that the actual mechanical state of the vehicle, meaning is the vehicle overheating, are the brake pads okay in the vehicle, do they need changing shortly, then we know that the whole environment of the driver and the vehicle have all been looked at and taken care of.
Okay. Okay. So the smartphone app, does that just provide the feedback to the driver, or once the installation process has happened, how does the smartphone app then integrate with the device that's in the OBD2 port?
We have a range of applications for different market segments. From the most basic type of application that just shows a green to red sort of scale of the driver's doing well or not, or needs to improve, to a more sort of interactive type application that shows the driver what they've done that could be improved on, if it's from a safety, if it's from a fuel efficiency perspective.
Okay.
We give them the ability to customize the way the app works to suit them as individuals. So right down from, let me know if my vehicle leaves my drive at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so all little tiny things that we can add on to that app in order to give the end customer sort of value-added services. We think that going forwards, the biggest thing that currently we're missing, apart from the benefits to the insurance company, are what benefits are we giving to the end customer?
Okay.
Okay, so as opposed to it being a device that the insurance has said, if you want our insurance, you've got to install this device, change it into a device where the customer actually wants the device.
Okay, so you're very customer focused.
That's our big challenges going forward.
So how are you looking to address that? I mean, obviously you've got this way of engaging, or that you're hoping to engage with them more. I mean, what's the next step for you then to bring that?
We've currently got projects around the world which are, insurance-based solutions. So, if you take our technology, then there are reductions in the first year on the policy. On the second year of the policy, based on how you've performed, then there's further reductions, up to 40% reductions on insurance.
Okay.
We then have alternative solutions where people actually buy hours of insurance through the app. So you can literally buy 100 hours of insurance, and then after those 100 hours, or as it's getting down to 80 hours used, you can then buy more insurance.
Oh, I see.
And the price of that more insurance that you add on is based on the profiling of how you've been driving.
Okay. So it's more immediate than just when you
Correct. It gives you a lot more flexibility, as opposed to just saying, a young driver drives all year, looking at whole yearly assessment. We can actually say, okay, if you think you're only going to drive 100 hours, then only pay for 100 hours. Okay, so it's
another way
concept.
Of reducing the price.
Still not
without
here in the UK, but it is a project that we're running overseas. Where we're going with these things is more looking at the big data. So as we're getting higher volumes of customers and more vehicles out on the road, we're obviously collecting more data. And then we can start looking at very easy things like, if I know diagnostically what's happening with your vehicle and how many miles you've driven, then I also know what area you are most of the time. I can then say, you're due for a service. Here are 3 price quotes from garages around you that have the parts to repair according to what your vehicle's saying. And we're doing most of the work for you, and obviously because we've got the volume, we can secure cheaper prices with garages and things like that. becomes a value-added service.
So it's about, you know, with most things we're seeing with the integration of smartphones and the services on them and the change in consumer attitudes, it's about adding convenience into a lifestyle or into a activity that's required, is where you're kind of going with this.
Correct. I mean, even if I give you another sort of simple example, if we know that, you know, every day there's, you know, half a dozen customers on a regular basis that park here at a local car park, we go to those local car parks and say, look, we want to give them, you know, for a week a 10% discount because they're regular customers of yours, and in return, we'll you know, put up your logo. We'll get it free of charge. The end customer's got a benefit, the car park's got a benefit, and it's a win-win for everybody.
I see. So it's about those clever negotiation business models throughout the chain. So I just want to move on to something a little bit different, but still very much connectivity and automotive focus, but a bit aside from usage-based insurance. And looking at how mobility models are changing up. You know, the millennials are going to not really own cars, and it's going to go to car sharing, supposedly, are the predictions at this point in time. And that opens, obviously, a big conundrum for insurance. How do you insure onto that? You know, if we're looking at vehicles with advanced safety systems, who's liable for what? How does it bring down premiums? You know, there's lots of questions that, you know, future technology is opening up to disrupt the insurance space. I mean, how are you guys reacting to that, or how do you predict things to have to change in the future?
I think first of all, there's two parts to that question. Part one is, currently the vehicle manufacturers aren't providing telematics solutions inside the vehicle, but I think we all openly, you know, expect and know that that's going to happen in the coming years. So currently, if you want, it's still part of our role to integrate with inside the vehicle, collect the correct data, and then analyse it and provide it correctly to the various parties.
Right.
So if it's one side, it's, you know, the safety side, and on the other side you've got an end customer that also needs a nice app if it's for car sharing, that they can change drivers and see who and when and what happened exactly to who is very important. There's also introduction of apps at the moment that when you do car sharing, that you can go and register any faults or scratches on the car, you know, all that sort of information as well. And the other side of it is actually going forward is where the vehicle manufacturers are getting, you know, coming into the arena a lot more, or we, you know, assume and know that they are going to be coming into the arena, which actually opens it up an awful lot more, because obviously the vehicle manufacturers can integrate an awful lot more into the vehicles. But apart from that, it means also we're hoping that there'll be a lot more of a common platform. Okay, which means that we'll eventually get to a stage that there's some sort of standard of data that comes out and give us a lot more power with inside a platform to take in data from different sources and then analyse it and produce the results. Of course. So it's actually a really interesting arena going forward in the next few years.
It is. I mean, it would be boring if there wasn't something new to always think about, wouldn't it? So it's good to know that there's something more on the horizon. Exactly. Well, thank you for your time today. It's been really interesting to talk to you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.